Welcome to a play-by-play review. I'm your host, Henry, and it is with great excitement and great honor that I'm going to introduce my second ever guest to the podcast. It is someone who is a very much an expert, much more of an expert than I am in this topic that we're going to be talking about today. He is my cousin. I would very much like to introduce Brad.
Hey, how's it going?
Very much glad to have you on here. And so we are going to be talking about Warhammer
Glad to be here.
40K, and it is something that I know you are a very big fan of. If you
Yeah,
were,
it's kind of
yeah,
like my favorite topic. Sorry, I cut you off, man.
no, it's all good. It's all good. I know you're itching to talk about it. I'm itching to listen to you talk about it. So, yeah, it's keep keep going. Like, why do you kind
hmm
of like Warhammer?
So for me, I like it because I'll be honest, I was a huge Star Wars fan for most of my life. And then when the newer movies came out, they said that all the books and video games that I played were no longer real in Star Wars. Obviously, it was never real to begin with, but it didn't count in the canon, and that hit me in my childhood, and that hurt. And I was looking for a new sci-fi, and Warhammer was there, like with its arms out, beckoning, like, "Come here." And so it was like, you want dense lore that you can get lost in? We've got you. You want like crazy stuff that doesn't make sense? We've got you. You want fighting all the time? We've got you. And so I kind of just fell into that. It's the grim dark is really a fun setting for me. Um, Something that's just like where the good guys are a regime that's worse than the worst regime you've ever seen in human history. Yeah, it's just bleak, but it also makes it kind of fun.
Yeah, it's a very interesting setting that I would hesitate to say the word unique because I feel like nothing is unique anymore, but even still it's
Very
like
fair.
there's nothing quite like Warhammer. I feel like it's got its own dark charm to it. And so like
As soon as you think
yeah.
things are looking up,
Yeah,
nope.
exactly. It's it looks up for like a fraction of a second and then goes back down.
And it goes the same for the bad guys too. Like nobody wins. Like
Yeah.
everybody's just
Yeah,
miserable.
everything sucks. There's only
Exactly.
war.
Yep.
So yeah, I guess that's like I mean I know it's the tagline is that like it's what do they say there's only war in the grim darkness of the far future there's only war. That's the tagline.
Yes. And if you go on like Instagram, there's like a new, it's not huge because let's face it, it's nerds. So we're not like big on Instagram, but there is like a little bit of a movement that trying to get like voice actors to do. There's a little passage at the beginning. I should have grabbed a book. At the beginning of every Warhammer book, there's a passage that just kind of lets you know like shit's not gonna go well in this
Yeah,
book.
yeah,
Like, but it describes the whole. Um, Let me pull up the passage.
yeah. It's I feel like I know what you're talking about even though I've only read one Warhammer book and it's I mean we can talk about that later. It's called The Infinite and the Divine and it's very unique in terms of Warhammer book specifically, but I know what you're kind of saying because I feel like in to go back to Star Wars because I'm also a big Star Wars fan. In like every Clone Wars episode, they would have like a little tagline at the front to like summarize the episode, and it's a quote. And I feel like a lot of like I watch Criminal Minds and they do that with like a quote from like a philosopher or something like that as well. So it's just like some kind of intellectual quote to like like set the stage. But for Warhammer, it's always like, yeah, this sucks. Everyone's gonna die.
Yes, and I found it. Here's an old version of it. It's changed a bit over the years, but the essential meaning is the same. It is the 41st millennium. For more than 100 centuries, the Emperor has sat immobile on the golden throne of Earth. He is the master of mankind by the will of the gods, and master of a million worlds by the might of his inexhaustible armies. He is a rotting carcass, writhing invisibly with power from the dark age of technology. He is the carrion lord of the Imperium, for whom 1,000 souls are sacrificed every day so that he may never truly die. To be a man in such, I'm skipping parts of it. To
It's
be a
all
man in such times is to be one amongst untold billions. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. These are the tales of those times. Forget the power of technology and science, for so much has been forgotten, never to be relearned. Forget the promise of progress and understanding, for in the grim dark of future there is only war. There is
the
no peace amongst the stars, only an eternity of carnage and slaughter, and the laughter of thirsting gods.
the good guys, by the way.
Yeah, the
Quote
good
unquote.
guys are that regime.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that's Warhammer for you. I was gonna ask like how do you summarize Warhammer? I think that's the best summary you could put for that right there.
Yeah, I as soon as you asked, I was like, oh, I wish I had grabbed a book, but I found it fast enough.
Yeah, there you go.
But
Uh,
that's kind of what it's like. It's miserable and it's huge. The scale is so big. The entire galaxy has been settled
hmm
and then forgotten and rediscovered and forgotten. Like that's how long it's been. Like
Yeah. Since
40,000 is it's now almost the year 41,000 in the
yeah,
current
that's
timeline.
why they call it 40K because it's 40K years in the future compared to where we are now.
And that's a lot of time. Like we've been around for what, a tenth of
3,000
that
a little bit.
max?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's a long time. So that's where like these different aliens and things come in, because while it's been settled, it's been forgotten, and it's been so long that even new have come up, and it's just so massive that it allows for you to be like, this is a story happening in this particular subsector, and then you just cut it off and you can tell a standalone story with whatever, because there's so much space magic shenanigans in Warhammer. You can turn anything into anything. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get into some of that space magic shenanigans in a little bit. But before that, since this is my our initial plans were going to be, lore. This is like a largely leaning into lore because I think we're both lore nerds on this stuff. But there's
Yeah.
also we got to talk about like the tabletop and like how
Hmm.
Warhammer like got started. And I know you play the tabletop games and
I
like
do.
paint figures and all that. So if you want to touch on that and like the physical part of it rather than just the lore part of it, like what is it about Warhammer that's about that, I guess.
Sure. For me, it gave me an artistic outlet where I didn't really have one before. I can paint these little dudes, and I'm a perfectionist, so it'll take me like a month and a half to do one that I watch on a YouTube video. They're like, "This is 30 minutes," and it looks better than mine. But I work my ass off, and I'm so proud of each one, and it's kind of interesting watching my progression too, because like I see the first models I painted, and I was so proud of those, and now I look at them, I'm like, "That's crap.
Yeah.
Look at
Oh,
the
yeah.
current
I
ones."
know the feeling. Not that I've painted Warhammer models, but like just that I like creative process is just so
Hmm.
like looking back on like I even look back on like some of my old podcast episodes that I did like 2 months ago, and I cringe. Um, and yeah, it's the
Because you
creative
live
process.
and learn.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and yeah, so the tabletop game is something that it's like I feel like at some points it's almost like completely separate from the lore in a sense where like
Yes.
the table like people who play the tabletop games might not be as well versed in the lore and vice versa because it's
No,
the
no, I
yeah
wouldn't. Well, Kansas City is very weird. Like this town is small for a city. I'm sorry, we like to pretend we're big. We've got Super Bowl champions. No. Like every time I go back to visit the family, I'm reminded very starkly of that. Like, yeah, Kansas City's small. Um, but um they have a huge hobby scene, and people are very much into the lore. Or the big thing I've seen is people come up with their own canon for their little army.
yeah
Maybe it's this faction, but it's their army within the faction that's their dudes, and they tell that little story because they say maybe, oh, they got trapped off on this planet, so they got separated, so now blah blah blah. just make up, because there's the universe is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it does even include other galaxies, but no one goes there. Well, people come from there. No one's gone there that we know of.
Yeah.
But
It's could change in the future. Who knows? But yeah.
exactly.
And then one other thing, I think we before we dive like knee deep into the lore, there's
Hmm.
just to touch on like Warhammer Fantasy Tactics or Fantasy Battle, just because I know that's another thing. I don't know
Right
how
now,
well
it's
versed into
mostly
it.
been. I don't know. I don't. I'm sorry, I cut you off again. I'm
That's all good.
terrible at that. That one is now it's I believe Age of Sigmar and
Yeah,
the Old World. So I don't know the lore on this as well, but it's the same chaos gods, which we haven't even touched on yet, but when
yeah,
we do, I'll kind of talk about how they are in both. But it's the same kind of bad guys, if you will. The chaos gods are the bad guys. If you want to find the most mustache twirly people in 40k, I would say it's the chaos gods.
gotcha.
But they also like to fight with each other because they just like to be evil. And so those they destroyed the entire old world in the fantasy, and that's what the old world is a prequel to. And then Sigmar is the world recreated itself, and I'm not really sure how.
Yeah, I
And that's
just
the
know
best I
that
got
like
for you.
the Age of Sigmar, it's like more of a strictly fantasy setting, and it's like something that's kind of separate
Yes.
from 40k, whereas 40k is like sci-fi fantasy, like gothic fantasy. I just figured
Yes.
like to touch on it because I know like not everyone knows what Warhammer is, and you might see like 40k and Age of Sigmar and think it's the same thing, but it's like same brand but different stuff going on in it essentially.
Similar vibes. The world
Yes.
sucks just as much, from what
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
not as big, but it sucks just as much in the littler space.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay, let's now we can get into some more lore specific stuff. So I think
Hmm.
I'm not sure where you would want to start. My guess would be something like the warp or chaos or just like the setting essentially and like some of the grander concepts before we get into like specific factions and events and all that.
I'm gonna start um, with the War in Heaven. I think
Sounds good.
so. This happened untold. This is first. I don't know when it happened. It happened long before 40k, maybe zero. I don't remember the exact dates of any of this stuff. Sorry, but this happened predating everything, and it was there were old races, and they fought against each other. And I'm just touching the surface on this because I'm not an expert on this one, but I know the broad strokes because I kind of have to understand like the rest. So they fought each other, and in that war, they created what was called the warp, which was like a parallel reality, but it was based on emotional energy as opposed to like physical matter and actual energy. And I'm not quite clear if that was like intended or a byproduct of the war or something, a weapon they made in the war, but it created this warp. Over time, things within that plane started to feed off of certain energies like lust for knowledge, lust for lust. Anything that has a negative connotation in any way, there's a chaos god feeding on it. And over the millennia, they became gods by feeding on all this energy. Um, and they're bad. They are the mustache twirly bad guys. It doesn't mean that they're not fun, but they are bad. So we've got um, the pantheon of chaos gods. So there's Slanesh, who is the new. Let's do that one last. That one's my
Yeah.
favorite because my army is the Emperor's children. So I was like, I'm gonna jump right into the pleasure people. But no,
Yeah, because
we'll do
Slanesh is like very new compared to the others from what I remember.
exact. Yes. Um, so we've got Corn, who is like
Blood for the blood
He
god.
just, yes, he is the blood god. He just likes killing. He
Yep.
just, did you see that Rick and Morty with the assassin who's just, I just like killing. Uh, that's him. He just likes killing.
Yep. Pretty
Um,
simple.
it's very simple. Like the more they even say he doesn't care from whence the blood flows as long as it flows. That's how you get in with him. So then there's Nurgle, who is like diseases and pestilence and all that gross stuff. Uh,
Yeah.
I guess blood for the blood god isn't gross, but diseases, I don't know. That's where
Yeah,
I draw the line.
it's like, bashing a skull in compared to infecting them with neurotoxins or something, I guess.
Yes, and like nasty pox viruses that make
Yeah.
you grow mouths and weird parts out of your
Yeah. It's
body.
like a lot of body horror with these like chaos gods, right?
Yes. The chaos mutations are like things that people can take, like as a patron from their god that's a patron of them, and they then like will morph into random stuff. But it's literally random. They don't know what they're gonna turn into when they're praying. But these people still do. That's
Yep.
interesting. And then we've got Zinch,
Yeah.
who is all about knowledge, and he looks like a bird. Um, no, I guess his demons look like a bird. You don't really know what any of them really look like. They don't have like a image, but they have greater demons. I'm gonna go back to Korn. Their greater demon is a bloodthirster, and it is just massive, red-winged. Like if you just think of like evil big demon with wings, it's got swords. It's got like skulls everywhere. It can hang
Yeah.
skulls off of. It likes killing.
Looks, yeah,
Um,
exactly. Like it's pretty typical, like something you'd see in a Diablo game or something like that.
Yes, like one of those kinds of demons. Nurgles are like really like fat and like you said, body horror. So it's got like mouths coming out of the stomachs, and like the fat is used to just like be oozing weird fluids and
Yeah.
diseases um and then the Zinch is just like he likes the color turquoise. Uh, it's very just like honestly, the biggest thing Zinch tie is the turquoise.
Is because I'm kind of jumping ahead to like some specifics, but
Mhm.
in the secret level episode that Amazon
Yes,
produced recently, it wasn't the demon in that. Wasn't that a Siege demon, I think?
that was.
Yeah.
That was. I think it was a demon and a sorcerer was the one who, spoilers, killed most of the squad.
Yeah.
And that's how powerful like a regular person can be when they're juiced up on demon juice. Because
Yeah.
the Marines were space Marines, and they just got killed pretty quick by
Yep.
yeah. But we'll get to that difference later.
Yeah.
Um, and then we've got Slanesh, who is my favorite, who is the youngest god, and we'll talk about their birth later.
Because that
And
that has to
they
deal
are
with
all
the,
about hedonism.
yeah, the Eldar. Like we'll get to them, but that's,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, that's their fate is entwined with Slanesh very much so.
Yeah.
But
And like,
Slanesh likes the color pink.
yeah, that I do know. Like from what I've seen, that Slanesh is like tied with like lust and, like you said, hedonism and all that. Like,
Just straight up hedonism. Actually, I just finished Emperor's Children book, and space. And here's a spoiler on Space Marines: they're asexual. So I don't know if that changes your army choices, viewers, but um, but the reason I say that is because that they don't talk about that kind of lust at all in the book. But man, they were just like obsessive over everything, just trying to like because the that those guys were specifically trying to be perfect, and so he became. It was like the entire book was just a metaphor for addiction. It was pretty interesting
oh, that's cool.
because they, yeah, it was. There's some gems out of the Warhammer books.
Yeah, there are a lot of them.
There's so many.
Well, we'll touch on the big series in a little bit here.
All right, so now we've got the Chaos Gods out of the way. Do you want to talk about like the Chaos, or let's? Hmm, that's done. Let's talk to the Imperium.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we can jump straight into them because they are the biggest faction in terms of coverage, I'd say.
Oh yeah. So the Imperium of Man is us. It's humans. We were led by the Emperor guy that was in that passage before, but not at all really. So in the year 30,000 ish, there was. I'm gonna Horus Heresy fans, please don't hate me. I'm gonna breeze over this because we only have so much time.
Yeah.
Half of he had Primarch sons, 18 that we know about, two that were stricken from the record because Games Workshop loves their mystery. If you want lore that is solved and like answered, don't come to Warhammer.
Yeah.
If you want a rabbit hole, come on in. But I'm sorry, I lost my train of
Yeah.
thought.
It says the Primarchs are
Yes.
like son, quote unquote, sort of like sons of the Emperor, from what I remember.
He made them out of his genes as well as warp energies because he knew about the warp's existence. Didn't feel like sharing with most of humanity. Some did, some didn't.
Since the Emperor
Um,
is like this immortal being, right? Like he's not your normal guy.
yes, that is very true. He is like an amalgam of people. So like way back in the beginning of humanity, there were like in this world, there were shaman people that like could touch to the warp a little bit, and I believe it was actually about the time of the birth of Slanesh. They felt like a presence like going through it, and they're like, "Oh, this is bad." So they decided like it's kind of scary because what these shaman people were is when they died, they would reincarnate themselves by just like forcing their way back through the warp or something. I'm really probably botching that, but I'm sorry.
That's all good.
It was very vaguely described in the only places I've seen it. So what they decided is the only way for them to survive going back and forth through the warp was to combine. So they like combined, and apparently when you do that, you just get real big. So he's like 12 foot tall, maybe taller dude.
Yeah, big
He's
guy.
just big. He's a big
Yeah.
dude.
Wasn't he
So
also like Alexander the Great at one point, I think?
he was like advisors throughout history to all those people, but he didn't take. And I think that's actually he might have been. I don't know which versions like are still canon, or yeah,
It's something
he might
along
have
those
been.
lines, essentially.
He stayed behind the scenes essentially throughout human history until well, man, the lore is so dense. It's like then I gotta go over this until like all right until a certain point. I'm just gonna say that. And then when he realized it was time to reveal myself, that's when he was like, "I'm gonna also lead you." And if
Yeah,
you don't listen to me, I have genetic super soldiers, so you better, because they'll kill you. He
yeah.
wasn't a nice guy. Like
Hmm.
the whole good guy or humanity praises him. He was uh, a piece of work, we'll just say.
Yeah.
Um,
The
he
the
he
the
was
ultimate
not
cult of
nice.
personality, you could say.
Yes, very much so. And he just took over with blood and force and a lot of charm too, because you kind of believe the 12-foot tall guy that can do magic, like that can just like kill like all of your army with a flash of his hand, and then you're like, okay, this guy must be a god, like he says. I'm gonna listen to him.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to refute it.
Yeah. So everyone kind of bent the knee, and so he did that across Earth, and then he's like, I got to do that across the galaxy. So the thing is like humanity had already settled the galaxy. Warp shenanigans, which is just space magic,
The-
stopped interstellar travel that was faster than light. So everybody got cut off for like they're like 10,000 year chunks. So I think it was 10,000 years. Um, then they like reconnected, and there was a big war against the machines. So Terminator fans, you might like that. We won this one.
Yeah.
Um,
It was what, like AI rose up in rebellion and then the Emperor stomped him out or something like that.
he hadn't revealed himself, but then stuff's kind of sketchy from around then because like every within universe everything is redacted from back
Yeah.
and then because the machines were too strong and no one wanted that technology to get back out there, so they destroyed it all,
And it's
which is pretty
yeah.
impressive galaxy wide.
And it's a convenient lore explanation for why technology is like this weird amalgamation of science fiction and also like fantasy tech, where it's not like hard sci-fi.
Yeah. And it was also like everything's so jank too. It kind of explains that.
Yeah, well, we'll get to the real janky tech faction with the orcs later, but I know what you mean.
That they are the best.
Yeah,
My
I
friend's
love the
building
orcs.
some
They're so
orc
much
stuff.
fun.
You can do anything as an orc. If
I
you
know.
are a crafty person, that's your army right there.
Uh-huh.
Because my friend, like you just see like I'm gonna 3D print this, print it, and then you just put like junk on it, and you're like, that's an orc,
Yeah,
and
so
like it's an orc vehicle,
it's just
and it
like,
works.
yeah, just throw a warg on there somewhere.
You just put some checkers, a wah,
Yeah,
all that stuff, and then maybe
yeah.
some good like severed heads. But that doesn't really did not change or differentiate the faction. Everybody in 40K uses those, even the Imperium.
but but yeah, anyways, well, uh, back to the emperor, and so
Yes.
it's
So when
yeah.
he decided to go back to the stars, which had been settled, and you can get into that on your own time. But he was like, we need to reunite humanity and unify them because he's like, the demons are coming. The demons were already there, but he was. I mean, he was close.
He was right
Um,
in a sense.
yeah, exactly, in a sense. And so he made he made 20 of these gene cracked out like kids that like have magic powers and crazy stuff. He made 20 super soldier kids is what he did. And then it was like these 20 are gonna have their own super soldier kids. Now he has super soldier grandkids. I yes. Uh
Something like that.
it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they call him like the space. All right, so he made the I'm trying to be funny. I'm not actually explaining it. I'm sorry.
It's all good. I
He
like to try and be funny and not explain things as well half the time.
he made the Primarchs, and there were 20 of them. You will only find info about 18 because James Workshop likes his mystery. They acknowledge that as like a
Yeah.
thing now. They had a really bad ad from James. They fired James, I guess.
Oh,
But
that's too
it
bad.
was the worst ad I've ever seen. But and I'm very biased to liking anything that they crap out, and I'm like, this is pretty cringe. But anyway,
Yeah.
back to
So
the Primarchs.
yeah, we'll get there eventually.
We will get there. But there's a will, there's a way.
Yep.
The 18 that didn't get stricken from the record that James didn't, because he wants his mystery. Because there's no info on that.
Yeah.
Like I've gone down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
It's just a
Nothing.
bunch of nothing. And a bunch of people wishing things. That's a lot of
Yeah.
that. Anyway, um, so he makes these Primarchs, and they are gods, demigods. Like
Yeah.
they're not wave their hand and kill an army, but they could take on an army
Yeah.
barehanded.
They're close
Like
enough.
yeah, they're very large again because it again the reason for these actually not again the reason for these I haven't explained that yet. The reason for these size differences is for the tabletop. You want to be able to tell. They don't have an emperor miniature, but you want to be able to tell like who's in charge, and so they have size differences with like amount of gene souped up you are, so that you can spot them also on the battlefield and be like, all right, that's a space marine, that's a human. Like
Yeah.
It makes it easier. I'm gonna get through this Primarch stuff.
Yep.
He makes them, and he kind of creates them to just fulfill specific roles. I'm not gonna get into everything, but like there's all sorts of different ones. They
Yeah.
all got into a theme,
Mm-hmm.
for like the purposes of the tabletop. Like if you want an evil Batman one, there's one. Like there's all sorts of
Yeah.
stuff, but
What color
um,
do you want, basically?
there's the color schemes, but then there's like also what kind of like weirdo do you want them to be?
Yeah.
Like, are they a tech weirdo? Here's the tech weirdos. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's the
uh,
Primarchs can definitely be in an entirely separate episode with how.
oh my lord,
Yeah.
yeah. There's so much lore on that. They have
Yeah.
entire books.
Uh-huh.
There's what 60
Yeah.
just Horus
The
heresy
Horus
books,
Heresy book series is, I think, in the 60s, I'm pretty sure.
and we glossed over that in about a minute and a half.
Yeah.
Uh,
There's yeah. I know
but
it's a thing
that's
that
how dense the
happens.
lore is. Yeah.
Yeah. I know like the ending, and we can talk about the ending to the Horus Heresy in a little bit. But I don't know. Other than that, don't really know too much about it, to be honest.
That's very fair. Actually, we're about to get into that.
Yeah.
So he makes these Primarchs. I'm gonna finish this now.
Yep.
This is if there's a little counter on the bottom, like this is attempt number 10.
Something
Um,
like that.
but he makes them, and they each uses their genes to start making super soldiers crafted in their image, and that's where the Space Marines come from. Hence, the game spends Space Marine and blah blah blah. The different legions of Space Marines were all each a legion assigned to their superhero father, and then God help me, I'm skipping so much, but we've got to get forward. He sends these guys out. Oh wait, no, he doesn't. I'm sorry. Back it
Don't
up.
they get like stranded by the warp or something?
Yes, they get snatched out. I'm sorry, I skipped that part. They get snatched up by the warp. While they're in their like gestation, whatever's like they were enough to make the Space Marine armies, but they weren't people yet. Like
Yeah.
they were still because they came out of the womb or whatever like grown ass men. So like there was no baby, and they
Yeah.
did that in this chamber, I guess. No,
Uh,
actually they weren't grown ass men. They were like teenagers, but they were the
just
size of grown ass men.
just your
But
typical Warhammer stuff, basically.
yes,
Yeah.
and they got sent to plan. They got like sent through space magic across. Because like here's the thing, like if the demons could just do that shit anytime they wanted, why didn't they just fuck us up?
It's yeah,
Anyway,
that then if you try and think about it too hard, it's
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Your brain will hurt.
Yep.
But the demons decided to work together and spread the suns across the known galaxy. So the Emperor starts without them. He's got his Space Marines, and he starts to find them as he's conquering the different planets because they kind of stick out as like 10-foot tall
Yeah.
demigods. So he starts finding them. The first one he finds is a dude named Horus. And yeah, red flags, guys. Red
Yep.
flags. He is the one who ends up betraying him. It's very complicated. Lots of things happen. But anyway, he finds the rest of his sons. He reunites the sons. They get along as good as middle schooler boys do. Like I mean, they're like bred for war. Of course, they're not gonna like each other. So they end up fighting. Half of them end up getting corrupted. Like most of them, like it stems from daddy issues because like the emperor didn't tell him he was proud of him enough or
Something
whatever.
like that.
A lot of it's like really just like for a demigod, you're really insecure, bro. But like, a lot of it is that to me.
Yeah.
But my favorite Fulgrim, his reason is, oh, I found this cool sword. I'm gonna use it, and it was a demon inside the sword, and it kind of got him. But and Fulgrim was the Primarch of the Third Legion, my favorite, the Emperor's children, and they were supposed to be the best legion, and that is why they got to bear his name. But they got so obsessed with perfection they fell into the hedonism god of Slanesh. And so when Horus did his heresying and created a civil war, which that's what the Horus heresy is he split off half of the Primarchs and the Space Marine armies to be like, no, we're gonna follow these like evil god things, and we can do that episode. I'm all for it.
Yeah, we
But
can. Yeah, definitely another
they
time.
split, fought on each other. Fought on each other. Wow, I speak well. I speak good, guys.
Yep. Big old Civil
Um,
War,
big old civil war, galaxy wide. Um, they storm Terra.
which is Earth.
Horus, yes, Terra is Earth. I apologize.
Yep.
And they storm Earth and they go to the Emperor's doorstep, and the Emperor's like, "No, I'm gonna go to your doorstep." So he just jumps straight into their ship because that's how space magic works. And they fight on the bad guy's ship, even though, like, if he could have done that, why did he let them? Anyway, we're going back. Yep. They're um so they fight and they kill each other essentially, but before the emperor actually dies, they put him on the throne, and he uses that throne to pretty much like hold demons back from Earth and guide every spaceship known to man
Yeah.
through
So
the warp.
that
So
that I
that is
rem-
how
yeah.
that's how we travel. Is
Yeah,
we
that
travel through that shit to
I
get to
remember,
places.
where it's like his like psychic power, because he's like the best psyker that the Imperium has, which is like psychers are like they're humans in tune to the warp, and like his energy
Yes.
is so incredible that they basically use him as like a focal point for like all of their star maps. So it's like they like he is coordinates like 000 on the map, and then they base everything else off
Yep.
of that.
Yep. And he pretty much is the only reason they can, because it's like they just go through the demon, like, because our scientists suck apparently, because aliens don't all do that.
Yeah.
Like, but how we travel through space is we're gonna go through demon dimension for a second and then end up on the other side. This is a good idea, and that's what we do. And it is very common in Warhammer for your ship to just not come back,
Yep.
and everyone's like, "Yep, that happens,"
Yep.
and they don't bat an eye. But the other fun thing is, because of warp space magic shenanigans, you can come back like anywhere in
Hmm.
time or anywhere in the galaxy.
Yeah.
And so people will pop out like from 10,000 years ago and just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And the modern people just shoot them, but because that's the world it is. Like they're like,
Yeah.
different, shoot it.
Yep. Exactly.
But if that doesn't happen, it makes for interesting stories.
Yep.
But anyway, we had the war,
Which was 30,000 years into the future. So it's like it's the Warhammer 30K compared to the Warhammer 40K that's happening now, basically.
Yes, you are correct, sir. And so that is what it kind of sets the stage for 40K. So after that, some lower people are gonna laugh at me or get mad, but after that war, nothing really happens. And I say that like tons of stuff happens, but the whole point is that like nothing goes anywhere. Everything stagnates for 10,000 years. Really, like barely any ships are built. New tech is not found. Like everyone, the entire Imperium just becomes super religious, which the entire reason that the entire fighting of the Horus Heresy happened was over religion. But we'll get into that another time. But it just becomes a super religious state, uses fear and persecution to keep people in line. But here's the thing: like when you start overly getting, because in the real world, like that's bad, right?
Yeah.
Like those are bad things. In
Mhm.
this world, they start doing it because if you start stepping out of line, you can actually make a demon show up and blow up the whole planet or some crap. So there's a reason they're doing it. Like they're not just like mustache twirly evil in the Imperium. They're like, no, you need to listen, because if you don't
Yeah.
listen, we're all dead. Like you're
It's
gonna kill everyone.
they're still not good, but there's
Yeah.
reasoning and rationale behind it.
Exactly. Like they're miserable to live for, but it's all fear based. Like because it legit can happen.
Yeah, because
Where
they're living in a
a
world where
person reads the
yeah,
forbidden book and
yeah,
Zinch comes out and gets them
yeah,
and gets the whole planet. It's just
uh-huh,
bump gone or whatever.
yeah.
Like
Or like the
because
Chaos
one
Marines show
dude
up.
read a book.
Yeah, it, not good.
So then they get the weird overreactions from, and then it just kind of cycles. So
Yeah,
that's the reason I say that is just like it's a very paranoid, scary time
hmm
to be a human. The other races kind of sound more fun to be. To be a human, it sucks.
yeah. But it's, I mean, I think most people get into the Imperium either to, cosplay as a guardsman and, be one of many, or like, do Space Marine stuff. And because everyone loves Space Marines because they're cool.
They are the quintessential super soldier. I mean, like
Yeah.
if you stand the Master Chief up next to a Space Marine's got head and shoulders on them, right? Like it's just
hmm
scary.
Yeah.
It's just extra and huge.
Do you also want to
But
just touch on the, was it the Adeptus Mechanicus, I think is what they're called?
sure. Um, was I clear enough on like what a Space Marine is before we move away from
I
them?
think
Because
so,
like
yeah. It's like
okay,
they're genetic offspring of the Emperor and like,
of the Primarchs.
yeah, or of the Primarchs, and then by extension the Emperor, and they're all like
Mhm.
there's 20 or like 20 legion or 20 Primarchs, 20 legions that we only know of 18 Primarchs, and like each legion has their own vibe going on. Half of them fall to chaos during the Horus Heresy. Horus gets removed from existence in like every version of existence by the Emperor,
Yes,
and because it's like
that
yeah,
that did happen. You did catch a point I missed.
yeah,
The Emperor didn't just kill Horus; he like deleted him.
yeah,
Like
like removed
and
the
and,
source code.
and yes, and so in this world you have a soul. His soul was removed. Whatever the hell the Emperor's weapon was, took that away from him.
Yeah. So like he cannot come back
No,
unless Games
no,
Workshop
you
wants it to
cannot.
happen.
I think they've already, well, they've already got cloned him.
Yeah, now we get
They,
into that kind of murky
yeah,
territory.
yeah. And then there was clone Fulgrim, who was a good guy. Yeah, they did a lot of clones. There was clones.
It's just like Star Wars. Yeah.
I told you it was waiting for me.
Yeah. It's yeah. But yeah, and I think we've got the basic gist of what a Space Marine is.
All right. If you
Down.
don't get it by now, go play Space Marine 2. It's fun as shit.
Yeah.
You can add me
Yeah.
on here.
And
I'll play with
I need
you.
to finish Space Marine 1 first.
That one's not as good.
Yeah,
It was
I
fine
know.
for the time. It didn't age super great. It's
Yeah.
okay. But I don't know. It's funny playing 2 and then playing 1 is like 2 captures the vibe of the times while maintaining like the quality of life improvements we have currently in video games,
hmm
which I very much appreciate.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's another episode.
Yeah, exactly. It's
So, so
once you
then
get into Warhammer, it's like, oh no, 50,000 episodes later.
there's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go on forever. But
Uh-huh.
anyway, we've got to talk about Xenos. We've got to talk
Yeah.
about all sorts of stuff. So I'm gonna power through a little bit
Yeah.
for
Or do
tell
you
me
want
to slow
to
down. Where do you want me to?
just touch on the Adeptus Mechanicus like 2 seconds basically? What
Yes.
are they basically?
Yes. I was going to touch on the rest of the Imperium.
Yeah.
So there are other factions within the Imperium besides the Space Marines. We've got what's called the Astra Militarum, which are the basic humans in an army. That is a huge broad strokes, but it is what we're doing right now because we're running out of time. I think I don't know. Maybe I'm just going really fast.
Yeah, I mean, we got time, but definitely
all right,
we
we're
can
good.
probably pick things up a little bit.
All right, fair. So they give very much World War One and very even more World War Two vibes. I say one because there's a lot of trench warfare stuff too. But they like the Kriegsmen, which is a unit within there, or a planet of soldiers within there. They're very Nazi inspired. Not so much in their like
Ideology,
ideology,
but like more
but
their
in their
visuals.
aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yep. They also have like Rambo inspired units. They
Yeah.
have like all sorts of cool stuff. It's Very fun. If you don't want the idea of super soldiers, but you like humanity, they're your best bet. Um, as a reflection, there are chaos corrupted ones. I say that because chaos corrupted ones are from members of the Astra Militarum are probably the number one bad guy you'll see in everything. They are the fodder in every video game, every book, everything. You'll see chaos corrupted Astra Militarum as the bad guys. The other thing is chaos corrupted Astra Militarum cannot play as them as an official faction. Sorry, guys, not something that's got rules even though they're everywhere.
Yep.
Anyway, continuing on. Then we've got the AdMech, which is the Adeptus Mechanicus. They are their own religion outside of the Imperial cult, which is actually the name of the church for the entire Imperium. They believe in the Omnissiah, which is the machine god, which believe is like the god of learning. But it's all a farce because they don't actually want to learn. They just only want to look up old stuff that they found before. So if you tried learning something new, they'll brand you as a heretic. It's yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also like current times, right? Like everything here has a mirror in current day. They very much is a satire.
Yeah. And
So then
they're based out of Mars, right?
they're based out of Mars, and they are all about technology. So these are guys that have like replaced their arms and their half their brains and most of their body with machinery, and they put graft weapons to themselves if they're in the army or fighters, or if they're just researching, they'll graft like extra brains to themselves or all sorts of cool stuff. Because the only thing that's really not permitted the most is in there is AI. They say like they don't like learning, but they do. It's very contradictory, but it's
Yeah.
very much like a reflection of current society in many ways, or like old religion, which said, we want to learn, but we don't want things like that. They do a lot of parallels, but they don't keep them on the surface. So if you don't like any of that deep stuff, you don't have to deal with it. Let's see, what's the other? Oh, I would say the other biggest faction to bring about in the human Imperium would be the Inquisition. And that's honestly where I'd recommend starting. If you wanted to read a book, I'd read the Eisenhorn books. They're really good. It follows an Inquisitor. And what they are people who are they're part of one of three different like schools or whatever of the Inquisition is Xenos, Malleus, and Hereticus. So Xenos is xenobiologicals, which is just a fancy word for aliens. So they deal with aliens, and the official policy of the humanity for any alien contact is shoot first and don't think about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you were bred from a young age to hate the alien, hate the heretic, and all that stuff. So there's no diplomacy at all in this universe, like none at
Yeah.
all. Like some dudes will work together to survive, but they don't talk about it.
Yep.
I mean, they'll probably try to kill each other after. But uh, yes, the Inquisition goes after the aliens. It goes after, and then the Malleus is order focused on anti-demons, and then the Hereticus is heretics.
Yep.
And they are very powerful, and these are people who have excelled at something. Honestly, the best analog I can come up with is like an N7 from Mass Effect. That's what an Inquisitor is.
Gotcha. What was
no,
the
like a
book you had?
Spectre.
Yeah. Yeah.
The book I recommended was the Eisenhorn trilogy. It's about 20 years old now, but it's still something that is very good. And it's actually not wrapped up yet. They're now on to the 9th or 10th book. The last one, quote unquote, should be coming out alongside Dr. Dre's next album.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But
Right.
they're good.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
very
No,
good.
I believe you.
I will say though, my favorite book is probably the book about a space marine called Cypher, who everyone thinks is not on their side, but he doesn't say whose side he's on, and he does some crazy stuff. and you're like, what is this random? Like he's just what? Like because he lies to you the whole book, and I don't know, it's fun. He tells you a story. He's like, oh, did you think I was gonna give you the answers? Tough luck. And I don't know, it's just so entertaining. But I like that book because similar to Eisenhorn, it takes what it really does is it takes about 5 different groups, I think, maybe 4, and it sets them all on a collision course, very much in a Quentin Tarantino-esque style,
Yeah.
and it ends very much in a Quentin Tarantino-esque style, and it's very if Quentin Tarantino wrote a book, I'd think it was that, but it was very much like that, and I very much enjoyed it because of that. But anyway, continuing on, I
Yeah.
apologize. So those are the main factions, and are the main factions within the Imperium, and then the Space Marines have tons of different what are they called, chapters. And so after the Horus Heresy and everybody fought each other, the Space Marines were not allowed to have a group of more than 1,000 of them at any one like place, like because it was to command legions of them was too much. Like they were wiping out star systems, and that was part of the problem with the Civil War and stuff. So they were like, can't have entire legions all listening to one guy. So breaking them up into groups of 1,000, the legions are gone. And so because of that, you can make up whatever you want for your Space Marine Legion or chapter and
Yeah.
make up your own fan fiction. And that's where people go nuts. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't want to make up, there's everything from like space minotaur people to space sharks to what was it? People who thought they were good guys but were actually bad guys. There's all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. And I think the
But
most popular chapter I would say is probably the Ultramarines, right?
they're the most popular and most just like put on the front.
Yeah, because they're the
It
ones in the
used to
blue
be the
armor.
Imperial Fists. Yes. So the Ultramarines are the 13th Legion? Doesn't matter their number.
Yeah.
Anyway, they are the only one whose Primarch is still active in the 40K timeline. So over the 10,000 years since then, most of the Primarchs either died from killing each other because a bunch of like the loyalist ones went hunting the traitor ones and they all killed each other Tarantino style again. And then some of the other ones just disappeared, and the Ultramarines have had theirs back. And while another group called the Dark Angels, theirs have come back too. He doesn't stay, but the Primarch of the Ultramarines, Robut Gilliman.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's Gilliman, right? Yeah.
Gilliman, yes.
Yeah.
Or you hear all sorts of funny names for him because his name
Yeah.
is funny. But Robot Girly Man's my favorite.
Yeah.
But 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 he is the head of the Ultramarines, and so they're his genetic sons. And he's really at the head at 40K. He is in charge of the Imperium at this point. He doesn't like it, but he feels like it's his responsibility, and so he's trying to make it a better place. But he's realizing what it's become because it's so much worse than it was the one that he got in a fight with Fulgrim. Fulgrim poisoned him. He was in a 10,000-year coma.
Yeah.
Sucks.
And since the Emperor at this point in current 40K is basically just a giant corpse being preserved by thousands of souls per day on his throne.
And yes, he doesn't actually do anything. He
Yeah.
just sits there. But in the Immaterium, he's doing all sorts of
Yeah.
stuff, but we don't know what it is. But then the other son is back too, and there's probably I'm gonna guess another one's gonna come back before 11th
Probably.
edition.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but so the next thing we should probably talk about. I know I
Should we talk
talked
about
about
some
some
Xenos?
characters. Yes, that's what I was thinking. I was talking about some characters, but like we just got to push past that
Yeah,
and get to the races.
we've talked about a lot so far, and there's a lot more to go. And Let's
Yes.
see if we can power through some of these factions.
All right. So the reason I said that the war in heaven was where we should start is now it's not relevant for humans because we had nothing to do with that. We suck all on our own. But the other aliens all have a common link, except for a couple ones which I'll note. But these three are the big ones that have the link: the Eldar, the Orcs, and the Necrons. They are all created by the old ones in this war as weapons. They were races meant to be buffers so that hopefully the old ones could win the war if these races were in the way. What ended up happening is the old ones got wiped out before the races kind of like blossomed, and then they blossomed into an empty galaxy and just kind of took over.
Yeah.
And that's and by empty galaxy I mean a galaxy full of stranded humans because we couldn't connect to each other through, but we were everywhere, and they started going wherever. Eldar are a dying race, I would say. There's a lot of them for a dying race, but um, what happened with them is forever. The Necrons went immediately to sleep after the war, and the Orcs went dormant. So the Eldar had like free reign in the galaxy. This was even before humans settled it, so they're old as hell, and they have been they'd reached like the peaks of everything. Like they had such high technology that the entire species had become hedonists because they were so bored. There was nothing to do because
And they're kind
their
of like
machines
space
did it
elves
all.
in a sense, right?
They aesthetically, absolutely.
Yeah.
They got the long pointy ears, and they're tall, they're skinnier, they're faster, mostly stereotypes of an elf.
Yep.
So yeah, um, they're yes, space elves. And so when they got super hedonistic, they got so hedonistic that their hedonism birthed Slanesh, and that was what kind of sense I think was what made the shaman come together to create the emperor because they could sense his birth in the war, or their birth in the war. Slanesh is specifically gender fluid because Slanesh swings every way possible. Like
It is above the
it's a kinky
concept of
thing.
gender.
Yes, yes. If you see most Slanesh demons, they're actually characterized by very lithe form, purple, and they usually have one breast.
Just one.
Like not in the center, like one. It's kind of show like half and half, like half woman, half man, I guess. Like they have one on the one side, and one side looks masculine, and I don't know, that's how they roll.
Yep.
That's what they're into. They're the hedonism ones. So,
Yeah.
but so that god was born, and then this created a very large schism in the Eldar race. First of all, it killed like that event of the god being birthed killed like I'd say at least 70% of the entire species. Like it just drained their souls like
Yeah.
instantly, just killed them. And they got deleted too, like emperor style. Like their souls were well, not
Or-
deleted, but they were almost worse than emperor style. They're like now eat part of the demon, like ate them. So like it's
Yeah.
worse. Like you're
Absorbed
yeah,
into
you're getting
Slanesh.
exactly. You're being I don't know. This hell doesn't even describe it. But
Yeah.
then two of them, or not two of them, but the Eldar then split off into two like different ways of thinking. Like one was like irrational, like, hey, let's not be crazy and let's just protect our own and hide for a bit. And then the other ones were like, nah, I don't think we went crazy enough, guys. And so they went even more crazy and evil. And their idea is if they do that, they're feeding Slanesh, the evil god, enough to stave off Slanesh eating them because they're appeasing them. They hate Slanesh. It's very complicated. They hate
Yeah.
him, but they appease him so that they don't get eaten
Yeah.
to death in the soul.
Yeah,
And
I get that. Are those the Dark Eldar, or is that something
mhm,
else?
those are the Dark Eldar, and they're called the Drukari. And they wear dark armor and they're actually paler. And so that's really the 30,000 feet of the Eldar. Orcs even easier.
Yep.
They are fungus that makes orcs. Like we all know what an orc is.
Yeah. They are.
But these orcs are modeled after Scottish soccer
Yeah.
hooligans, so they are not like super serious,
No, they're not
and
at all.
they can tap into their own plane of reality, which is called the Wa.
It's so good.
I love it. It's
I
so
love
great. Like
it. They're so they're so much fun.
exactly, they make no damn sense, but
Yeah.
that's the whole point. So the power of the Wa is, and that's just what they say is war.
Yep.
But they start
Because
screaming
they
every time
they
you
have
say
like
war.
what, a
So it's Wa.
Cockney accent or something like that.
Yes. Yeah. They always have a terrible British accent of some sort or
Or you
Scottish or
gits.
yeah, exactly. And they fight each other and they act like Scottish soccer hooligans, but they have this connection to the Wa, which is the power of belief. So if enough orcs believe something to be real, they make it
It
true.
just becomes real.
But exactly. So if they're like driving their or flying their airplane, because they do have airplanes in Warhammer, which is weird to me because they have spaceships too. But anyway, uh,
they're aircraft.
yes, they
Yeah.
have aircraft. Like I just shoot them from space. Why do we have to have? No, sorry.
But
Uh,
yeah, they're
but
flying their little.
they fly in their aircraft and they can be like, "We're out of fuel. We're gonna crash," and like the chieftain can just be like, "No, we're not," and they look back down. Oh, we're not. Okay, because he
Yeah.
believed it hard enough, and that's just how it works. They throw scrap together. They collect from because they're fungus, so they don't like build their own stuff really. They just throw scrap together and just believe it works, and so it does.
Yep.
So if like somebody else tries to take it apart after defeating them in battle, it's just scraps that
Yep.
are just lying there that were
And
scraps
it's
before.
like certain colors have certain properties in their minds. It's like red makes things go
Yes.
faster.
Yes, red is faster, purple is invisible. So that's kind of like a joke on if you see people painting orc and they painted it purple, you're like, where is it? If
Yeah.
they're asking for hey, can you get some constructive criticism on my orc paint job? Usually you'll see like 5 people. I don't see anything. What are you holding up?
You've never seen a purple orc before. It's just not a thing.
Exactly, it's not a thing
Yeah.
because they're the sneakiest.
Yep.
But they have 2 gods, Gork and Mork, and one is oh god, what is it? Yeah, one is the cunning. Yeah, brutal. One is the most brutal, and one is the most cunning.
Yep.
I don't remember which is, but that's it. That's all they care about is
Yeah.
being
They
brutal
they
and
just like
cunning.
fighting.
They like fighting each other, whatever. They have like leaders, and their leaders are just people that they've loved so much that because he just brings them more fights. But then the other thing that's interesting, and I'll move on to the next race, is that orcs also they love a good scrap. That's what they call it.
Mm-hmm.
And to the point where there's a guy, a commissar in the in Astra Militarum that fought with their leaders so many times that they all believed he was immortal to the point that they can't kill him now because they believe he's immortal. And it's really
Yeah.
because if he went to go fight anything but orcs, he'd get hosed. But he is like a legend. Like Space Marines can't kill orcs as fast as them because the orcs are so scared of him that their powers make him more
Yeah.
powerful
It's
against them.
their powers are a double-edged sword, and I love that concept so much of like they can believe anything, but it can sometimes be a bad thing.
And then I think the other thing that we're not driving home enough about the orcs is they're idiots. Like they're
Yeah.
not
Oh yeah.
smart. Like they're joke characters. They're like,
Yes.
oh, they're just dumb.
Yeah.
And so that's part of what drives their fun. Like if your playgroup doesn't have an orc player, be that orc player because you can just you can grab trash and just
Mm-hmm.
make it
Yeah.
into a thing. You just say it's an orc thing and it
Yeah.
actually plays.
Uh-huh. Yeah, there's a scene in the Infinite and the Divine, which they're the Necron characters, which we can talk about in a little bit, but they're fighting a legion of orcs essentially, and it's a space battle. It's a really fun space battle. But there's a point where the narration is describing an orc boarding craft, and it's like this hobbled together like tin can rocket that they shoot at into space with like a dozen orcs crammed inside. And it's basically just a trash can with a jet booster strapped on the back, and there's a quote unquote pilot at the front who has like a little steering wheel on it, and he believes he's piloting it. In reality, he's doing nothing. Like he's just there having fun. He cannot steer it. There is no steering controls, but he's having fun. And it's, they if they hit the enemy ship, it'll do good. If not, they're just gonna drift out into space, never to be seen again.
Yep.
It's
They
it's
just
so
it's
it
all just like go. We're gonna
yeah.
do it. We're gonna try it. We're gonna fight it. Hell yeah, we'll do it again.
It's the perfect antithesis, I feel like, to a lot of other factions in Warhammer that I think it's just such a good contrast and it works really well.
It is the much needed levity that
Yeah.
Warhammer needs. Granted, like they're still gonna be butchering planets of people, like because
Yeah.
they'll go to a civilian planet and be like, "Who wants to put up a fight?" And then no one's gonna, and they'll still kill everybody.
Yeah.
So they're
But
not good, but they're fun. They're
yeah.
fun when and the writing.
Yeah.
They have some good writers for
Hmm.
them, and that's part of it.
Yeah.
Uh,
In the grand scale of Warhammer, they are some of the more enjoyable and like lighthearted comparatively compared to other
there's
factions.
very little scheming
Yes.
with them. They're like, I'm gonna fight, and that's what I want to do, and that's all I'm gonna do. And they're very like, because everyone else has got an agenda and all sorts of crap. They don't scheme at all. Like their leaders kind of do, but whose leaders don't.
Yeah.
Uh,
Even
but
then.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So all right, we'll keep moving on. Those are two of the races created by that war of in heaven, and then the Necrons are the third, and that's what you talked about in your book. Um,
Yeah.
that race,
Yeah.
and so they were in service to the old ones as they were called the Necron tier
Yeah,
or
that's
something like
yeah, I think
that,
that's what it was.
and
And they're
they
organic at
wanted
that point.
eternal. Yes, they were organic. They looked very much humanoid. I think a little taller and lankier because in space everyone's taller than us, I guess. Um, so they go to the old ones and say, "Hey, we want to be eternal because we don't want to die." And the old ones, I guess, are douchebags. Like I didn't really get much about what they are,
Yeah.
but they're not nice. So they're like, "Yeah, we'll give you a monkey's paw version of your request." And so yeah, they don't die, but now they got turned into robots.
Yeah,
They
they're
like
like Egyptian Terminators or like ancient Egyptian Terminators, very green as well.
yeah. Although I would say the most ancient Egypt would have to be the Zinch guys. Actually,
Yeah.
they've got full like I don't even know what they're called, but like when you pull it up, you're like, yeah, that's ancient
Yeah.
Egypt. But like the Eye of Ra and stuff, which always made me weirdly think like why wasn't it Horus? Because that's where the
Yeah.
name Horus
That's
comes from.
a
But
good point actually.
once again, that would make sense.
Yeah.
And actually, a lot of this they didn't like. They built this not thinking anyone was gonna like it. I don't think. So a lot of it was inside jokes. Like a lot of the characters and like my favorite loyalist army space marine, the Dark Angels, they're all about like gay euphemisms is where they came from, like
Yeah.
jokes.
Well, I think wasn't
And
like
it's
the first edition like just a major critique on like British politics in the 80s or something like that.
yeah. And it wasn't like making fun of gay people. It was like hidden code that people used in specifically where they started in England, like that town. And like it was really interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
But also it was a poet who wrote about being well, he doesn't overtly say it's being gay, but you can kind of connect the dots
Yeah.
what he's talking about. And he calls himself uh, a dark angel, and then his name is Lionel Johnson, and the prime mark of the The Dark Angels is named Lion L. Johnson instead of Lionel. Yeah.
Yep.
So like there's a lot. They have these weird themes that you can rabbit hole with. But back to the two
Necrons. And
Necrons.
and I feel like I remember like while I was reading, it's that like the Necrons are they kind of rise up against like one of their old gods and then like enslave some of
Yep.
them, but then they go to sleep for a million years or something
That
like that.
I couldn't have said it better myself. That's pretty much what happened. The
Yeah.
Necrons got very, very pissed when the old ones, um, when they, because they won their war in heaven and they were like done. I don't remember what they were fighting fully, but they were done, I guess. And then the Necrons fought them and killed them, and captured some of them. They use them in the battlefield. Kind of weird.
Yeah.
But it makes for some beautiful models.
Hmm.
The
Yeah, I've seen some of them.
Satan
They look
shards.
really cool.
They are very cool. I have one player I play against who's a Necron player, and I'm not sure where he gets the ideas for his paint schemes, but they're amazing. Like he figured out how to make a whole bunch of stuff look like it was made out of marble. It
That's
was really
very
cool.
cool.
Um, Actually, he painted something for me that he made look out of marble too, so I like that. Uh, anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
They got the Satan or the old ones, and then they went to sleep because they didn't really know what to do at that point.
Yeah.
And then that's when the Eldar kind of took over
Yeah.
the galaxy.
Yeah.
And so they went to sleep, and the Necrons woke up right about, I'd say 38, 39K.
Yeah.
And so they were not part of the Emperor's plan. He didn't know about them. But they had like gone into what's called tomb worlds,
Hmm.
and they just put them all around the galaxy, and then they just start waking up, and they're still waking up. So like
Yeah.
people find out that their planet is a tomb world, and they get that whole
Yeah. Because
planet's gone.
Necrons are really powerful.
They're strong and they don't die. They
Yeah.
got their wish. So
Hmm.
even if you shoot them or kill them, they'll regenerate.
Yeah.
But there are ways to stop it, but it's really hard to kill a Necron.
Yeah. It's, I
And
think it's a
they
lot of
back
times
up
it's
and
like their
regenerate.
essence can just be like transferred to a new machine or something like that. Um,
It's
and-
a
yeah.
little of that. There's a little regenerate. There's like they have two different ways to come back. Like so they can regenerate and they can do that. So like it's really hard to kill them.
Hmm. Yeah. And then for
But
the Infinite and the Divine in that book, which is a book about two Necrons who are basically like crotchety old men who despise each other, that are also like insanely strong. They're part of like a small group of Necrons that are accidentally woken up like in like 10,000 years before everyone else starts waking up for the Necrons. And so they basically have to occupy their time. And they basically spend a 10,000 year long feud of basically just doing spy versus spy against each other. And it's glorious. I would 100% recommend the book. It's incredibly fun.
it is one of the better books ever written for the for Warhammer. It's up there. Like as soon as that one caught on, the books just disappeared from the shelves. I think you can get a lot of these if you can't find the books. Um, Kindle and Audible and all those things have audiobooks of
Yeah,
almost all of them.
I did the audiobook for it, and it was very well produced. The narrator for it is very good.
They get good people.
Yeah,
I believe. I haven't heard that one's audiobook, but I believe it because they've all been really good.
yeah,
And then their books are like I don't mean just like the paperback. They have like hardbacks and then collectors ones. They're all really nice. They I feel like Games Workshop's more a book company than a miniatures company. But back to aliens.
yeah.
So
Should
then
we
we've got
do?
Tyranids.
Yeah, we can do Tyranids next.
Tyranids, there's not really a history. It's all guessed as to where they came from. We know they came from outside of the galaxy. Also, we're not part of the Emperor's plan because they showed up in the last few thousand years as well. Um, they are an alien, a race full of You know the alien from Alien?
Yeah, the xenomorph.
Xenomorph. Yep. They are just as race as xenomorphs. Big,
Yep.
little, medium xenomorphs. Just all sorts of different mutations of that. And it's a hive mind like the queen and the xenomorphs. They actually said that that's what they based them off of. And
Yeah.
then actually, I believe a couple alien writers have come forward and said that they've been in later Alien been inspired by Tyranid designs to do new aliens. So they've kind of just cycled off each
Yeah.
other now.
So it's
And
like you're similar to the Zerg from StarCraft or the Flood from Halo.
yes,
It's the tidal wave of hive mind, alien like monster kind of stuff with a lot of
I
carnivorous.
mean StarCraft nails the aesthetic of
Yeah,
Warhammer
that's
really
that's an
well.
episode I'm going to be doing as well as on StarCraft because I love that game so much.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Actually, my Leagues of Votan Hearthkin Warriors, I'm painting up like the Space Marines from StarCraft because they actually like they look like it, and you can just
Nice.
paint them up that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
But
Well, we can get to those guys
yeah,
in a little bit as
in
well.
time.
Yeah.
But Tyranids, big army of hive minds. They're there to consume. They create new, different ones, kind of just like Alien. Um, not too much. They're perfect swarm enemy for any background of lots of mass killing when you don't need to explain the motivations of the bad guy.
Yep.
That's what they're perfect for. Um, Tau are a new race that in the last 2,000 years went from like 0 to more advanced than humanity in 40,000 years. So they have high tech stuff, but the Tau are mostly based off of a race that is has they have a short lifespan of about 20 years, I think, and because of that, it makes I don't know, something makes them do stuff faster, so that's why they scienced better. Uh, that's
Yeah.
the technical term. They scienced better than
Yeah.
we
No,
did, and they
that
got to
makes
the
sense.
stars faster. Um, but that's like it. And the going back to the AdMech, like they hate and love the Tau because they love their designs, but they hate that it's like heresy because they created new stuff. But the Tau are one of the few like races on all of Warhammer that like just don't mess with chaos at all. Like chaos only cares about you if you have like a psychic imprint. Humans all have like a little one. Taus is like so small that it's like a grain of sand to them.
Yeah.
So, and that's what they eat, the demons and chaos gods. So they eat your psychic imprint
Yeah.
and your soul.
Yeah. And
But
yeah, I know the tower kind of like almost this like separate thing and like vibes wise, they're just very different from a lot of what we know or like what we've seen of 40K in like a meta sense.
yes, they're very utopian. They also have a government where they believe like they are the only people who have diplomacy. But
Yeah.
well, Leagues of Votan do too. But they have diplomacy. They will just capture a planet as opposed to every other race will exterminate all life on it. They will capture people and they will integrate them into Tau society. There are humans in Tau society. There are pretty much everything but orcs, I would say. There's probably like an odd Necron in there somehow, some weird way, but because they're sentient, so some of them are anyway. Like a lot of the Necrons lost their full sentience when they became robots, which is how it's so easy to just command them like armies. Anyway, going back to the Tau, uh, they have some notable characters like Commander Farsight, who he pretty much just like cast a mirror on the idea of utopia and that maybe it's just an oligarchy. So they're starting to become less like because they kind of felt like Star Trek in Warhammer, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like because Star Trek's like optimistic
Hmm.
and
Warhammer is the
Tau were
exact opposite.
optimistic. Exactly. And Tau were like the optimistic ones, and now they're seeing like behind the veil, like as the more and more books come out, it's like maybe it's more just an oligarchy. But then again, it's also partially because of the times, and they do try to have some aspect of Warhammer be a satire. So
Yeah,
there is that to it.
yeah. And I,
Um,
from what I
mm,
remember, is that they're a very divisive
mhm.
faction in terms of the tabletop because they're like entirely ranged base. I think is that what it
Yeah,
is?
they're very gun line. So they're not entirely range based. I mean, the Eldar are mostly gun line. Um, Granted, but they do have some pretty powerful melee options in the Eldar. Um, but there's a lot of it's a shooting army. But the other thing is, it's a shooting army that its aesthetic was based off like Gundams and stuff. I think
Yeah,
they were
it's
trying to get the Gundam model builders into Warhammer,
yeah. I know
and
people
so
call
I
them the
think a
weeb
lot of the
faction.
Warhammer, yeah, a lot of the Warhammer fans don't like that. It's fine. Like I because of the memes, I guess I've never encountered a Tau player. Now that I think about it, no, I haven't. I've just seen the models at the store and people pull it off the shelves and make jokes. I'm like, okay, but yeah, they're the meme army. They're not bad actually. I was going through like their codex, which is the rules for each army. Um, they have some mean gunline stuff. And then speaking of gunline, we'll go from them to the Leagues of Votan. They're also they're not completely gunline anymore. But th- they're mixed now. But the Leagues of Votan, I think, are one of the coolest because they're space dwarves. We'll just start with that. They're space dwarves. They and if I go too long on these, there's only one book of lore, so I can't go
I
that
was
long.
gonna say
Uh,
I know nothing about them, so I like this is all gonna be you.
all right, fair enough. That's fun. I love this. They when humanity started spreading out across the stars, way before even the Horus Heresy, they sent specific fleets that were self-sufficient that had copies of what are called STCs. STCs are pretty much the holy technical grail in Warhammer. It is a fully complete STC is the sum of all of human knowledge at the peak of um the, at the peak of
Like when
technology.
humanity was like even before the Emperor, when they were
Exactly.
spacefaring and had AI and all that.
And because they had all those things, they made these little things that would go to planets, and it was like, oh, Fallout. If you played Fallout,
I played some of the games, not all the way
do
through,
you know
but
what the Geks are?
vaguely.
Like the Garden of Eden creation kit. It was like you just push the button and it makes whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
And that one also terraformed and did a bunch of stuff. But it would make whatever you wanted. If you wanted a spaceship, if you wanted a whatever, it would have the designs for all of that.
Yeah.
Everything from tanks to ways to make food, everything. It was all of human technology. They sent some of these with uh these fleets to the center of what they call the galactic chords. Like if you look at the spiral of the galaxy, it's the dead center. Um, Over time, they became cut off even before humanity got cut off from each other. And over time, they became insular and were unable to breed normally. I believe that was the reason why they did this. And so they started cloning themselves to be more adaptable. And I don't mean like cloning themselves like I'm going to make 5 more Brads. I meant like they make people for what they need. So if like they need people who are soldiers because they're fighting, they make people who are strong and physically fit and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, so that's what they've been were started doing, and it was all governed by the STCs because the STCs had gained so much knowledge they became sentient and started calling themselves the Votan. And these Votan cores became the center of all of the society for these humans. And over time, through the cloning process and the needs of the galactic core, because they said like increased gravity or something, that's why the people are smaller. But it's also why they don't look like dwarves from everything else. They just look like little people because that's really all they are. Is they just got shrunk down. Because if you look at the proportions, they don't look dwarfy. They look just like littler people, and that's why. Um, so they are actually humans. Now, if you asked Inquisitor that, they'd be like burn them down. But at the same time, the Leagues of Votan have been in Warhammer since actually the beginning. They were called the Squats, and they were originally and they were this was retconned when they brought back the Leagues of Votan in 2023 as the Leagues of Votan. But originally they were called the Squats, and they were viewed or the Demiurge. The Tau called them the Demiurge. The Imperium called them the Squats. They were just traders. They dealt with everybody, and that's pretty much what they do. Is they just trade. It's all about the most economic outcome. If this war isn't going to make us money, we're not going to fight it. We'll leave. Like that is all. It's all dollars and cents, but I wouldn't call it like hard. A lot of people talk about it like it's hardcore, like dystopian future style. But there's only one book, and I've read it, and it's very like not just. I would much rather live on that ship than anywhere in the Imperium. Yeah, no chaos demons, like because that's another thing. Like the Tau, the Leagues, through the cloning process, actually kind of like cut themselves off from the warp. So like chaos doesn't even care about them because they have nothing to eat from them. They don't really care about chaos because they're created by the Votan for the race. So everyone has a very strong sense of community and building of just the greater good for their league. Now the leagues will fight against each other, but they have each Votan controls the league. So they if they're fighting against each other, it's because the Votan want to. But the Votan also are insane as shit because nothing's perfect, right? Like,
Yep.
so the thing is all that happened 20,000 years before 40K, right? So these Votan are so old they're breaking, and that's kind of why that's kind of the excuse they gave for why like they just kind of appeared again is because they're leaving the galactic core that no one fights in to go to other places because their Votan are breaking and they need to find new tech. And so that's kind of their explanation as to why they reappeared. But before, they were believed to just be part of the Imperium or like mutants. There's lots of different mutants of people. If you are a weeb, there is a cat person mutant. It's official. I don't know what it is. But there's all sorts of mutants from like giant like ogre people to all stuff. They're all considered human. Um, you know, if you need them to fight for you, but then you're not gonna have them sit next to you at dinner if you're an inquisitor. No. But yeah, there's a lot of mutants, which that's part of the gray area of like what is are they a Xenos race or a mutant? Because technically it started with humanity, but they've been very clear that they're Xenos. I mean, if you go to the website and you go to the where they break it down, Imperium, Chaos, Xenos. It's under the Xenos list, so that's what they are. They are completely cut off from the Imperium. They don't even let the Imperium doesn't remember who they were. Like they don't remember that there were miners in the Galactic Core 20,000 years ago or any of that. So they don't know what these little short people are, and the little short people have been really. They don't trust the Imperium because the Imperium isn't trustworthy.
Yeah,
So
understandable.
so they don't share anything really, and so that's why they thought they were mutants, and it was an easy workaround. And I really like the aesthetic. They have a good amount of melee, but mostly they're a shooting army like the Tau. But there's just something fun about them. I
Yeah,
like them.
yeah, I get that.
And are we forgetting somebody? I feel like
I
I'm
don't I
forgetting
don't think we
somebody.
are. I'm pretty sure we covered the major ones.
There's a lot of minor
Yeah,
Xenos races. That is
that's
true.
another
'Cause
discussion for another time.
yes, it is.
Yeah.
What else did we need to touch on?
I think we got most of the points right now. At least that I was thinking of. Like, is there any major event going on, like current timeline,
Hmm.
or just like something going on in the Warhammer fandom or like in
Yeah.
Warhammer lore, like currently?
So because of Space Marine 2 last summer was or 2 summers ago now, 2024 summer,
So,
was probably the most successful Warhammer video game of ever. So because of that, they have now, I don't know if they were planning this the whole time or what, but they have taken the main character from the video game and put him front and center with the end of 10th edition campaign. So Titus, who was Lieutenant Titus in the game, has been promoted to be captain of the Ultramarine Second Company, which is what he was in the first game. Um, and they made a new miniature for him. They already had one of him from the game, which wasn't even a year old. So they're really investing in Titus, and they're doing a campaign called the 500 Worlds. And what those are is the Ultramarines are named after Ultramar, which is a region of space. Not because they're ultramarine blue, but also, yes, because they're ultramarine blue. But that region of space is called Ultramar is 500 worlds, and the campaign is uh Robot Girly Man has decided that he is going to send all of his sons, which are his Ultramarines, to retake the entire region of space of Ultramar and all 500 worlds. The problem is, and they state this in the 500 worlds teaser, not all 500 worlds still exist. So it's going to be a little difficult. But they even acknowledge that from the beginning. They're like, some of them got consumed in war. Like, but the order still stands. We have to bring all 500 back.
the math
So
don't
it's
mathin' at the moment.
exactly, that's actually what the whole like little teaser is. Titus's voice actor just doing voiceover. Like, yeah, I know he's the son of the emperor and he's in charge of even the chapter master because he's a demigod and whatever, but that's impossible. And that's really literally what he's, I mean, not the exact words, but that's what he says, and then it just kind of goes into the campaign. But that's the big event. And last event they had brought a Primarch back. So that's where when ninth edition ended and they did that event, Lion L. Johnson came back. And that book was pretty good too. Dark Angels are my favorite loyalist faction of Space Marines, and so I'll read a lot about them too. I do like them.
Gotcha. And then I guess we could probably also just briefly touch on Astartes, just to because it's a big something I really like
Hmm.
for what I've done in like experienced in Warhammer, and because I know Astartes 2 is coming out next year, so it's just something to touch on as well.
Yeah, that animation, and there's a lot more of its kind that are really like paywalled behind Warhammer Plus. But if you can bite the bullet and buy, it's $60 a year, so it's a whole lot cheaper than like the other ones. And I'm not shilling for them. I wish they were paying me. But
Yeah, please sponsor us, Games Workshop.
yeah, seriously, please sponsor my crippling plastic addiction to your
That
plastic.
you started.
Yeah, exactly. Um, but oh, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
But yeah, it's like Astartes and like it.
Oh, Starties.
Yeah,
Yeah, the animations are really good, and that
yeah,
one really just encaptured like how much goes into a Space Marine because wasn't Astartes mostly just suiting up?
yeah. It was just suiting up and like just action, basically, like wordless
Yeah,
action, and because I think it was like a custom chapter as well. That's like
it was
now
it
been
was
brought into
done.
canon.
It was done by just a dude.
Yeah,
It
one
wasn't
guy.
done like something they commissioned. It was just a dude was like, I love this. I'm gonna
Yeah,
do it. And he just made an animation because at that time you're right, that was something groundbreaking because in this hobby there wasn't any of that.
yep,
It was all in your mind. It was all imagined. Wow.
yeah,
I've been
yeah.
talking too long, I think. But no, it was all but it's all imagined. And like that's the funny thing is like, yeah, I see the Space Marine. I'm like, that's what I think about when I'm playing the tabletop game. That's what I think it looks like going on when I take your units. Is that cool maneuver he did with the bolt rifle or whatever? But because they're just little things on the table. But
Hmm.
it's all in your head. It's all imagined and it's fun. That's
Yeah.
the head cannon and the investing in your army really it makes you love it more.
Yeah.
Because even though there's like this lore that we've touched on, and I'm happy to come back and touch on more of it because,
I know
as
there's
you
a
can
lot
tell,
more to
I,
touch on.
I I can't shut up about it.
Uh-huh.
But the most fun, and I'm trying to just like distill it down for a new player, is taking some of that lore, taking what you have, and like that being the models that you either buy or you can get them free or 3D print, whatever, and making it yours. Like, yeah, there's the lore that says what these guys do, but you're painting it your way, you're building it your way, and almost every single person in their mind has a story about their minis. Maybe not each one has his own story, but like these guys are from this unit, they fought on whatever, and that's what really gets you invested in it. It also really sucks when you roll a bunch of ones when they're shooting at you, and then you're armored their shots, and then you die. And then you're like, dude, I spent 2 hours painting you, or 12 hours painting you, and now you're dead in 10
Yep.
seconds.
Well, that's Warhammer.
It is. But then you scoop them up and you put them down the next time. But
Yep.
it's that investment that really keeps you coming back. And paint your minis. That's the biggest thing I have to say. Like says the guy with a pile of gray plastic in his place. Like I know that. But it is so satisfying. I don't finish a day of video gaming and like post on Instagram like, "Hey, I did this. It's great." But when I finish a squad of minis, hell yeah, I'm posting that on Instagram. I don't care. I'm almost 40-year-old man. I'm posting that on
Yeah.
Instagram.
No, I'm always impressed to see like how well people can paint their minis because it's like I feel like I just don't have the precision for it, but it's very impressive.
I use technique to counter lack of skill. So there's so many different techniques that you can learn and like the physics of how the paint works. You can go down as many rabbit holes as you like, which my ADD loves. That's part of why I like this hobby. There's like a rabbit hole after,
Yeah.
but I found ways to paint things quite well. I think they're quite well, and I'm my own harshest critic, so I think they're good. Um, but I have a lot of fine motor issues and things like that. That I remember being a kid and having to write cursive, and they're like, "You're terrible. You'll never do any art." And like that's how they talked to us at one of the schools I was at. I don't
Oh,
remember which one. I moved a lot, but they weren't nice. And so that's part of why I like Warhammers because it's I can do art, and I
yeah.
learned like you don't have to be perfect like to paint on a canvas to make a miniature look good. You just have to understand lighting and physics and watch a bunch of videos or
Get
on
there
how to do.
eventually.
But like there are ways to make the paint use the three-dimensional nature of the miniature to do all the work for you.
Yeah.
And yes, yours isn't going to look as good as somebody who wins awards, but it'll look pretty good. And especially if you are a person who has been told they won't be an artist or just thinks that they can't, I challenge you to say you can do this because I was I literally had fine motor disabilities throughout my life, and I can do it. So that's all I'm gonna say
Yeah.
on that
I
topic.
I think that's a great little message there, and I think that's a perfect way to kind of end this off. Just something to leave more than just talking about lore about all these little guys out in space 40,000 years in the future. It's something that we can take home right here and now. So
Exactly.
yeah, thank you very much for coming on. I think we've kind of talked ourselves into to doing another episode at some point on something else
I'd be
Warhammer
happy to.
related.
Be
Um,
very happy to.
yeah.
Probably
But
something more focused.
yeah,
I feel
definitely.
like I rambled a bit too much.
No, it's there's a lot to cover in trying to do it in a decent amount of time. And yeah, there's just so much going on in Warhammer, and we can definitely find a more specific topic at some later point. But I'm very thankful for you coming on and talking about something that you clearly love, and it's something that
Thank
I
you.
enjoy as well. But getting to hear it from someone who has experienced it a lot more and knows a lot more about it is was very enjoyable to listen to.
Well, I had fun talking about it, so have me back sooner rather than later.
Of course, yep, I
All
will do that. For those listening at home, just to go over my podcast plan. So this will be going up after I record this. My next episode will be the Week 12 recap for the NFL because I think we're on week 12 at the moment, which will be on Tuesday. After that, I'm not sure what I'm going to do next, but I'll probably going to be doing posting some actual YouTube videos rather than just audio podcast stuff. So I've got a little bit of recordings done. I got to start editing that, but that's going to be going up at some point. So just keep an eye out for that. For now, though, once again, thank you very much for coming on, Brad. And I hope you all
Thank you.
tune in next time.